Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith, and this is a bit of breaking news. There you go. You can see it behind us. Here we go. Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United is on. We've just had the tweet from Ornstein at first, to be fair. I think he broke it about 23 minutes ago, so excuse us for slacking. Then that's been followed up by Romano. So we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty. We're going to give you the details, but looks like Benjamin Sesko, deal has been agreed with Manchester United and RB Leipzig for the striker. We know that the terms had already been agreed between Manchester United and the player. Now the clubs have agreed, so it's all happening. Joe, I'll get your reaction before I go into the details. Your reaction to the fact that Benjamin Sesko is practically a red.
Allow me to be a little bit giddy, Jay.
Please do.
We have had the worst attacking season in my living lifetime.
Your living lifetime? Yeah, I prefer your living lifetime to your
non-living
lifetime. I don't like that.
It was terrible. My lifetime before I was born was awful. But we've responded to that by literally buying a brand new front line. And we were looking yesterday, Manchester United I don't think we've ever done that.
Yeah.
Bought in 3 attackers, and in Mbeumo, Cunha, and now Sesko, that were designed to be first choice players to completely replace the old front line. That is something that we have never done before.
It's kind of insane. It's like me going home tonight and going to Mrs. You know these 3 kids we've got?
Yeah.
Oh, we need 3 new ones.
Yeah. And you replace them with 3 sort of chess prodigies. And you're like, you know what? Obviously, there is a weird love element to this that I'm overlooking, but from a purely output perspective, we've upgraded. But in terms of like Man United, this is absolutely astonishing. Like, we can't underestimate how rare this is. Even when United had more money, when we were a bigger draw, all of this, we never did this. And admittedly, we never had to do this. We never had a front line that was completely not just replaceable, but needed to be replaced.
Yeah.
But even so, to do it, to bring in 2 Premier League proven players and one of the most outstanding young talents in world football in one window as your brand new starting front 3 is exceptional. And we have to give, obviously, I don't want to give too much credit to the Glazers, obviously, but to Ineos, to Berardi, to Wilcox, to Vivell, to get this done the way they have. And we haven't even sold anyone yet. Man United haven't received a single pound for any player this summer. I think that is absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, I just think the intent that it shows, the way that we've done it, we'll get into the details, how we've sort of nipped him from Newcastle's nose, and we've done a similar thing with Mbeumo and Cunha. I just think it's a really, really impressive window so far.
No, I completely agree. It is kind of insane. Like you said, I've never known anything like it in my lifetime. I think you were looking the other day, last time United sort of replaced their entire front line, and it was the 70s, and even then it was, you know, some of those players weren't really replacements, they were sort of backups. Yeah, it's kind of insane. And the mad thing is, right, we're literally on a Here We Go live with breaking news, and people are already talking about the next signing. People are already in the comments going, Baleba, we're done with Sesko. That's old news. What's happening with Baleba? I'm going to get into the comments, but first of all, let's go into the details of this deal. So, Ornstein, I think, at the initial tweet, certainly the first one I saw, says, exclusive, Manchester United strike agreement in principle with RB Leipzig to sign Benjamin Sesko. Deal for 22-year-old Leipzig striker, 76 million euros. 76.5 million euros plus 8.5 million euros. Slovenia international given permission to fly and do medical before completing Man United move. And then there's obviously a link to the article, and it goes on to say Newcastle have also pursued Sesko and saw a bid of 82.5 million euros plus 2.5 million in add-ons accepted by Leipzig on Thursday. But the Slovenia international favoured Manchester United, and talks have advanced in an effort to satisfy Leipzig's expectations. There was talk that there was this sort of gentleman's agreement between Sesko and Leipzig for certain clubs came in for him, and met certain like expectations in terms of transfer fee. He would be allowed to move, and I think that's what's happened here. Is even if Newcastle were willing to spend more, he didn't want to go there, and because United have paid enough to get the deal done, Leipzig are like, okay, we can let you go for the money that Manchester United are doing. And it's great to see that as well. It makes that transfer all that little bit sweeter. Yeah. But Newcastle wanted him. They had a bid accepted, and he was like, nah, you're all right. Because me and you have spoken about this extensively over the last few weeks. Far too often, United have signed players who weren't bothered about whether they played for Manchester United or anyone else. They just wanted to move, or they wanted to earn loads of dough, or they wanted to play in the Premier League or whatever. With Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko, all of them have preferred Manchester United over other options. They've all had other options. Yep. They've all had options with Champions League football, yet they've chose Manchester United. And also, I think they've all had the option to go to Newcastle.
Yeah.
And they've all said, nah, forget that. We'll go.
We're all right.
Yeah, we're all right. I don't fancy that one, which is refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And also, I don't think it's, the whole watching the Newcastle fans is funny. And it is funny that, the thing is, it's not even funny that like they're all feeling shit and stuff, which is kind of funny in itself. But the fact that so many of them thought it was just a dead cert that anyone would choose Newcastle over Man United because, of course, we've got the Champions League, we won a trophy last season, all the things that United didn't do. But that's clearly not the case. We saw, was it Paul Merson talking after the Europa League final that, anyone would pick, if the choice was between Tottenham and Man United, they'd choose Tottenham. Well, in Bournemouth, that was the choice, and he didn't.
That's nonsense as well from Paul Merson.
But these sort of opinions persist all the time. And maybe there's a case that we're just going for players that we know want to join United, so there would be others that maybe would prefer Newcastle. But the fact that so many players have knocked Newcastle back this summer just goes to tell you that Manchester United are still a big draw, and that at the moment Newcastle aren't. There's also a couple of points that I saw someone make in the comments. One of them was about how the fee of this is quite similar to the fee that we paid for Cunha and for Mbeumo. Like, yes, it's, I think, 73 million up front, but that's euros. Or 76 million, that's euros. That's around 66 million pounds, which again is the upfront fee that we're paying, not upfront in terms of when we pay it, but a guaranteed 66 million pounds that we are paying for Bryan Mbeumo with a further 6 million pounds in add-ons. Almost exactly the same as this deal. So it's not, yes, it's a lot of money, and it could trickle into the sort of 70 million quid territory, but it isn't 80, 90, 100 million that we've seen other clubs pay, or that we've paid in the past for, let's be honest, lesser players. 66 million quid as a starting fee. That's pretty good to me. That is pretty good. I think the reports were that sort of the first half of the add-ons are quite easily achievable, the second maybe a little bit more challenging. But I personally think that, 66 million quid now, a guaranteed 66 million, is a very good price. Even though there's all these questions, reservations, I get it. I think we've done quite well on the fee, personally.
No, I do. Let's be real here. A 22-year-old striker who's well known. Everyone knows who Benjamin Sesko is in terms of his reputation, in terms of the goals he scored. It's not like this is a gem that no one's heard of. You're getting one of the most spoken about strikers on the planet.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to pay for him? For a 22-year-old who everyone's raved about, who Arsenal wanted, who Newcastle wanted. You're never going to get him for less than what Manchester United have paid. That's not realistic. No. And I think that the Geordies were going to pay a lot more than we were. So this all makes sense. We're going to get into some of the comments, then we'll get into some of the stats, and I'm going to come back to you, Joe.
Okay.
Loads of people just happy, loads of people buzzing about this. Stoyan Histrov says 21 is coming. Then Brad Jones says Belabor. A few people have said Belabor. Dan FC says Sesko number 7. I don't think they're going to take the number 7 shirt off Mason Mount. No. I think that was a one-off when we did it with Ronaldo after the season had started. All the numbers have been announced. I don't expect that to happen again. Wait. Heaven Soul says flight scheduled, currently delayed from Leipzig to Manchester for 5 o'clock, delayed until 6:15. Time to go full Muppet and track the flight, boys. Do you ever do that?
Occasionally.
Track flights. I've done that before. Yeah, it was proper like old school, that, wasn't it? It's Hoyland says, Jay and Joe, do you think Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko will be up and running for the start of the season? We need to start solid, otherwise the pressure will be heavy on this team and Amorim. I think getting Sesko done now. Yes, I do. I think he will. I don't know. I don't expect him to play on Saturday. I'd be very surprised if that happens. But I certainly think he can be ready for the Arsenal game. And do you know what? We can throw him in.
Yeah.
Get him in. He's not been sat on the beach eating pies for the last 6 weeks. Get him in the team, man. Seriously. Sorry. Hey?
Sorry, did you sit on the beach eating pies?
You spent enough time with me on beaches to know that's exactly what I do.
Like Dandy Dan, or what it's called, from the
I sit on the beach eating pies and drinking, milkshakes.
Yeah.
And that. But Benjamin Sesko hasn't been doing that. He's been looking after himself, and I guarantee he will be ready for the visit in Arsenal, of Arsenal, I should say. And not to get carried away, but I think we'll do him. I thought that before we signed Sesko, so I definitely think it now. Here's his record. Because some people question his record. He's been compared to Rasmus Højlund when we bought him. People saying he's not that prolific. If you look at someone like Victor Gyökeres, who scores loads more goals, albeit at a lower level, and he's older than him, the numbers aren't the same. Here's Sesko's numbers. He's in 64 Bundesliga games. He's got 27 goals and 7 assists. So that's 34 goal involvements, obviously, in 64 games. That's pretty good. Yeah. That's not too shabby, really, is it?
For someone who was 20 when that record started and was 22 as it's ended.
Yeah.
It isn't bad.
I think the criticism, or some of the criticisms aimed at Benjamin Sesko, is last season it was 33 appearances in the Bundesliga, 13 goals.
Yeah,
now people look at that and they go, especially when the previous season it was 31 games and 14 goals. Now, in terms of goal involvements, he's actually got 2 more goal involvements the previous season than he did the season before. However, people will just go look at the goal numbers. 13 goals ain't that amazing. It's decent, but it's not amazing. If you're just focusing on the Bundesliga goals, and he did have a couple of spells last season where he went, I think at one point he went 7 games without a goal. But other than that, to be honest, to be fair to the lad, I think 4 games without a goal. It wasn't like he had big chunks of the season where he wasn't scoring. He also was pretty consistent over I think it was over the Christmas period. He scored in 5 successive games in the Bundesliga as well. And his goals have been spread out, so he's just scoring a lot of games. I think there's only once he scored 2 goals. The rest are all single goals. So it's not like he's stat padding, as the kids say, where he's scoring
doing the Nicholas Jackson where he gets 4 in one game and then none for 10.
It was your mate who used to do it. He used to have him on fantasy football. Mikel Antonio.
Yeah.
He'd score 5 in one game and then wouldn't score for 6 months.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's none of that going on with Sesko. And also, I was talking about this the other day. When you look at him against the big boys, I think he scored twice against Bayern Munich last season, unless I'm getting that completely wrong. Oh, no, sorry, once against Bayern Munich last season. He has got goals against good teams as well. Twice, sorry. So he's not just scoring against the sort of lower end of the table, which is something that Gyökeres was accused of last season, wasn't it? Most of his goals came against the lower level Portuguese teams. Now it's done. Yeah. Now we know it's done, because me and you've spoken about this extensively, but we've always had this caveat: if we get him done, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Now it is done. What's the expectation, Ruben Amorim? Now we've got Sesko, we've got Cunha, we've got Mbeumo. We've spent 200 million there or thereabouts, probably a little bit less. Where do you think Ruben Amorim needs to finish if we're going to be sort of,
Let's work our way up from where we ended last season,
Yep.
and then get to a point where we think, okay, we're pushing it now. So bottom half we can rule out instantly, yeah? No one's going to say we should, if we finish 11th, that'd be all right.
No.
So top half immediately. No. Then you're in that kind of middle ground where there's 4 points between 12th and 8th.
Yeah.
You kind of want to clear yourself of that. So then you're into European spaces. That feels realistic.
Yep.
Europa Conference League. Then obviously up from there is the Europa League. To me, when you start getting towards Champions League, that's when it feels as though we're on the cusp of not asking too much, but that feels like the upper expectation here. I think if we could qualify for the Champions League, or be in the argument for Champions League as the end of the season rolls around, I would take that right now. I think that should be the expectation.
Yeah.
Obviously, if that turns the final, you win 6 of your last 7 games and you get Champions League, great. If you win 3 of the last 7 games and you don't, then I wouldn't sack him after that either.
No.
But I think Champions League qualification should be part of the conversation until the end of the season. I think that should be the expectation now. What would you say?
I feel like you've got to be there or thereabouts in the Champions League spots.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to make it. I know it's very similar to what you're saying, but I think if United finish 6th, then that's enough progress for me to still believe in Amorim. But I think if you're going to go out and buy a new front three, and also let's not pretend that Manchester United, squad-wise, are a team that should be finishing 15th, even before these signings. No. We massively underperformed and underachieved. We didn't overachieve. We weren't a relegation team that managed to get to 15th. No. This wasn't like where you go, wow, you know what I mean? Haven't they done well, Manchester United? You thought they would have gone down. They've finished 15th, relatively comfortable. We're a team that should have been challenging for the European spots, who finished well below expectations. And if you look at the squad, you look at the 11 in particular, when we've got 1 game a week, it is a very, very strong 11.
It is.
I think there's only about, genuinely, 3 teams I would definitely say have got a better 11 than us.
Who would that be? Obviously Liverpool, Arsenal, City?
I think there's. Yeah. I'm struggling to argue against any of those 3. Yeah. Even though Arsenal, I think it's closer than.
And then maybe Newcastle, Chelsea.
Yeah, I think maybe I
kind of ballpark now.
I think it's similar-ish. But obviously Newcastle and Chelsea have got Champions League football, which is going to help us because I know Arsenal, City, Liverpool have.
And they've got better midfielders than we have.
Yeah, but I'd argue. You're right. I think we've got better defenders maybe than. Chelsea.
I think we're better defenders than Newcastle.
I think our back 3 is pretty strong. I think it's up there. I think there's only maybe City and Liverpool who could argue have got a better defence than us in terms of the quality. I mean, people might say Saliba and Gabriel
they're good.
And what's his name, Ben White.
Yeah.
And who's the lad that plays at left back? Not Zinchenko.
It rotates, doesn't it? Tomiyasu sometimes.
Yeah, but I don't know. And also, I think this
Skelly.
front three is very, very strong as well. Now we've got this as well. So, plus, even our midfield, which isn't that great. You've got Bruno, you've got Mainu, you've got quality there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not like we've just got a midfield full of duffers. This from Florian Plettenberg pleases me quite a lot.
Really?
He says, exclusive detail. To make the deal with Manchester United possible, Benjamin Sesko has agreed to waive part of his salary. He could have earned more at Newcastle. That's fantastic, isn't it?
It is fantastic.
He's basically paid money not to go to Newcastle. Do you know what I mean?
In a way, yeah, I guess
he's basically paid thousands of pounds a week not to have to go to Newcastle.
Yeah.
I admire that. Yeah, you know how much piss is boiling right now in Tyneside. It's going to be phenomenal. If you've not rang Ethan James, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know who you are anymore.
I haven't actually. I didn't know about this news until about
as soon as we get off this live, you need to ring him immediately
him.
and just laugh down the phone for a good half hour. Yeah. Benjamin Toppin, who we met in America, top bloke, says, we've got Benjamin Sesko rejecting the pies.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic pun from
We've got
last night,
Benjamin Sesko rejecting the
greats.
pies.
I was thinking about that pun earlier this morning. One of the best we've ever done.
What was the pun from last night?
The Donnarumma one.
Yeah. The one that you was thinking about.
No, it was this one.
Oh, right. Sorry. What's the one you think about? Right, go on. What was
Benjamin Sesko rejecting the pies.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Benjamin's. Oh, the Magpies. That was it. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Forgive me.
Not only did Joe not think about it this morning, producer Ben, he couldn't even remember it. Even after I just told him
you know what it is? Do you know what made that pun for me?
Down.
But because Benjamin Toppin hasn't done the thing that I loved about that pun. What was the one thing I loved about that pun more than anything?
The apostrophe.
Yeah.
Before pies.
That was genius. That really was.
Magpies.
That was chef's kiss. There was some good puns last night. If you get a chance, right, go and have a look at the puns from last night's Transfers Live. It was absolutely elite. Not yet though. Stick around with us. Ross Murphy says 3 players we've signed who want to come to United. Yeah. That's true because in the past, right, even with someone like Paul Labille Pogba, who we were all buzzing when we got him. He'd been at United. The prodigal son returns and all this other jazz. He wasn't like he was dying to come back to United. He would have gone at City if they'd give Juve what they wanted, but they wouldn't, and we did. But it was just painted like the prodigal son returns and all the rest of it. Where the fact is, if he'd have been that keen on United, he wouldn't have left in the first place. Yeah. He came to United because we paid him the wage he wanted, and we paid Juventus the fee that they wanted. Other players like Angel Di Maria didn't want to come to United and made that clear after about a week.
Yeah, well, let's be honest, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Ronaldo didn't want to come back to United, and then more or less. So did everything he could to get out of it by giving that horrible interview with Piers Morgan. Who else have we had big money signings? Then you have other big money signings who you feel were a little bit overawed by it all. Who maybe the shirt was a little bit too heavy for him and they lacked that little bit of edge, that little bit of confidence, that little bit of swagger or aura, as the kids say, that you need to be a player at Manchester United, particularly a striker at Manchester United. Look at someone like Romelu Lukaku, whose numbers were actually, look at those numbers, 42 goals in 96 games, decent, but he struggled. He became a meme. It was obvious that at times his confidence had deserted him. Look at Rasmus Højlund, for example. Bright young striker, did well in Serie A, came to Manchester United. You could see what it was about, especially in those Champions League games, early doors. I'm not giving up on him yet, but you could see the confidence wasn't there. It was a heavy shirt for him to wear. Yeah. When you've got players that are like, no, I want to go to United, I rate myself. Because Benjamin Sesko could have gone a few years ago. He wasn't ready. He said that he wasn't ready, or he sort of let everyone know he wasn't ready, and he didn't come to Manchester United. Now he feels he is. He's chosen us over at Newcastle. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad for him. I'm glad we've got him, because I think he's a fantastic player. I don't know loads about him, but I can't help but be excited about the fact we've brought in another player. We've got a new front three after the season we've just had, where I think, was it Marcus Rashford was like our top scorer until about March, wasn't it? Yeah. It was pretty dire straits. Mike, who's been a member of the first team for 18 months, says, regardless of where we finish top 8, we are in a better position to build next summer, and further foundation is almost there. Patience is key, lads. Akash K, big thank you to Akash for all he's been doing for the channel. Says, let's hope Sesko comes in, kicks Rasmus up the backside. That's assuming we don't sell Rasmus this summer. One thing for sure, big season incoming for Man United. Yeah, it is a big season, and it should be a very positive one. Frank F says, Newcastle's balls receding back into their groin. B. Hugh says, Lukaku did well, Evan. He did. He looked like it was a bit of a no-brainer. Scored loads of goals at Everton, was a good young striker, Premier League experience, but didn't quite happen. Brian McDonald says, Joe was waiting for you for a scrap in Atlanta, even told Jay. Bumped into
you
Brian.
told me that, but then I don't think I bumped into him, did I?
He was wearing a 1991 Cup Winners' Cup shirt.
I don't think
So
I did.
if you did have a scrap of him, because of his shirt, I probably would have been on his side.
Sorry, mate.
But it didn't happen. Don't sell Hoyland, puts too much pressure on Sesko, says Alex. You're of that opinion, aren't you?
Yeah, essentially. Unless we get someone else in. I'm up for swapping Hoyland for someone cheaper and better. But yeah, I wouldn't sell him and not replace him. Just on the Sesko stuff then. The assumption, and let's say the assumption, we're just assuming that he is going to come in and be first choice number 9.
Yeah.
But that there's no question there, is there?
No.
In terms of this front three, how do you see them working together then? Because we've seen Cunha, very sort of dynamic player. He's probably the most defensive of the three. Not that he's a defending player, but he'll drop in deeper than the rest. You kind of play as more of a midfielder at times. Then you've got Mbeumo, who's more of a sort of winger / second striker. It feels to me just from the initial games we've seen and what we've seen at Brentford. Then you've got Sesko, big, tall, strong, fast, target man kind of striker. Do you see that three in particular working well with the wing backs as well? Do you think it's a good front three?
I think it will be one of the greatest front threes in the history of association football.
Sure.
I do. I think they will break all sorts of records and inevitably, eventually, win everything.
But for next season in particular, how do you see it looking?
I think you're looking at 50 Premier League goals between the three of them.
Bloody hell. Really?
Yeah, really.
Fucking hell, I'd love that.
I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I think they can do it. I think they can do it of about 16 each-ish.
Yeah.
I think they've got it in them. I do. And I think they'll be.
That'd be
I think they'll be.
amazing if they did that.
People forget as well. If you're flying, if you're doing really well, United didn't have any games last season where we just battered someone. I think Everton 4-0 was the only game where that kind of happened. But if you've got a front three that are firing, you'll have the odd game where it might end up just all scoring. It might be one of those big games.
We never had any momentum at all, did we?
Yeah, and that matters. You know, if you get a team like even the likes of Southampton who were doomed, we only just got past them because basically Ahmad decided he didn't want to lose that game. Yeah. But I think if we get a couple of games where we can really smash it, then I think we can get 50 goals between them. Don't forget though, I think I did say on the Carl Anker prediction amnesty last summer that United would score 100 goals in the Premier League. So the only caveat I would add to my prediction is don't listen to it. No, but seriously.
100. What did we get, 44?
Yeah, I was only 56 out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
It's got to be better than last season.
I do feel like these three players are capable of scoring lots of goals. And even if, I know it's not that scientific, but even if like Mbeumo and Cunha get, you know, roughly what they got last season, or maybe a little bit less because Mbeumo's not taking the penalties, then you're there or thereabouts, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think Mbeumo scored, was it like 14, 15 non-penalty goals?
Yeah.
Cunha scored about 16 non-penalty goals, I think they were. So if Sesko can come in and weigh in with similar numbers, if Sesko gets 16 Premier League goals, I think we'd all be happy with that. Yeah, I think that'd be very good. So, listen, I might be getting carried away. We might be sat here in Christmas saying we need to bring in a striker in January because everything's been, you know, underwhelming. But I do like what I see. I do like the fact we've got these. I'm going to end on a very appropriate comment. Zaka3 says, Joe is so handsome. Right.
Thank you. Here we go.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. People drinking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
No, it's not drinking. It could just be
drinking pints of vodka.
He might not be.
Jay,
he might not be pissed. He might just be mental. Got to remember that.
He's a very handsome lad. He's a very handsome lad that's very happy because Manchester United have got the deal done for Benjamin Sesko. He joins the likes of Diego Leon, Mateus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo in Ruben Amorim's Revolution. We're going to be back later on. We've got more videos coming out.
So much coming out.
Make sure if you're not doing, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. That's been Joe Smith. You can go and check him out on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. I've been Jay Motta. You know where to find me. This has been Breaking News. Manchester United have got Benjamin Sesko. Here we go. Thanks for watching.